thousands of aircraft, one brutal war. This is every US aircraft used in Vietnam. Fighter and interceptor jets. The F-4 Phantom II was the jet of this war. Twin engines, Mach 2, and it flew for both the Navy and Air Force. It did everything escort, bombing, air superiority. But it had one infamous flaw: no gun. Designers thought missiles had made dogfighting obsolete. Vietnam proved them completely wrong. When Phantom pilots tangled with nimble MiG-17 up close, they were in serious trouble. The Navy literally invented the Top Gun school because of this problem. Over 760 Phantoms were lost more than any other jet in the war. The F-105 Thunder Chief the Thud was a nuclear strike jet thrown into a conventional war. It flew the most dangerous missions of Rolling Thunder, hammering Hanoi through walls of SAMs and AAS. Over 320 were lost. Nearly half of every F-105 ever built went down over Vietnam. The F-8 Crusader was the Navy's gunfighter, literally. It kept its cannons when everyone else went missiles only, and it posted the best kill ratio against MiGs of any American aircraft in the war. The F-100 Super Sabre was already aging out, but flew the earliest Air Force combat missions and transitioned into close air support throughout the conflict. Bombers and strike aircraft, the B-52 Stratofortress. This is the big one. Designed to drop nuclear weapons on the Soviet Union, it was repurposed to carpet bomb jungle, and it changed the entire war. Flying so high, troops on the ground couldn't hear them coming. B-52s could level a square mile of jungle in seconds. The climax came in December 1972, Operation Linebacker 2, 11 straight days hammering Hanoi. North Vietnam came back to the peace table within weeks. Over 2.7 million tons of bombs dropped across the whole war. No aircraft shaped Vietnam more than the B-52. The A-6 Intruder was the Navy's all-weather strike jet. It could hit targets at night and in bad weather, when everything else was grounded. Massive bomb load, sophisticated nav systems, and one of the most capable aircraft of the entire conflict. The F-111 Aardvark had a disastrous debut 3 lost in the first few weeks of its combat debut in 1968. But it came back, proved itself as a devastating low-level night striker, and flew some of the most precise missions of the war. Close air support and attack aircraft, the A-1 Skyraider, World War II propeller plane. Should have been obsolete, wasn't. It could carry 8,000 pounds of ordnance, loiter for hours, and absorb punishment that would destroy a jet. Its most important role, escorting rescue helicopters into enemy territory to recover downed pilots, flying slow circles under fire for hours, protecting the men going in to make the pickup. Absolute legend of this war. The A-7 Corsair II wasn't the fastest jet out there, but it was one of the most accurate, early precision weapons delivery in an era where most bombing was still eyeballed. The AC-47 Spooky and AC-130 Spectre the gunships. The AC-47 was a converted cargo plane with 3 miniguns firing 6,000 rounds per minute. Troops on the ground called it Puff the Magic Dragon. The AC-13 took that concept even further, adding cannons, sensors, and eventually a 105mm howitzer. They hunted truck convoys on the Ho Chi Minh Trail at night and were the most feared aircraft in the dark skies over Southeast Asia. The OV-10 Bronco and tiny O-1 Bird Dog flew as forward air controllers, circling over active firefights at low altitude, marking targets for fast jets. FAC pilots had some of the highest casualty rates of anyone in the air war. Helicopters. The big one. The UH-1 Huey. That sound. You know that sound. The whoomp, whoomp, whoomp of the two-blade rotor became the sound of an entire war. The Huey carried troops into battle in a brand new tactic called air assault, landing soldiers directly on contested ground deep in enemy territory. It evacuated the wounded medevac Hueys, saved tens of thousands of lives. It resupplied mountain fire bases that no road could reach. At the peak of the war, the Army had over 2,500 flying in Vietnam at the same time. Over 3,000 were lost. The Huey is Vietnam. The AH-1 Cobra was the world's first purpose-built attack helicopter built from the ground up to kill things. Fast, narrow, and deadly, it escorted Huey formations into hot landing zones, suppressing enemy fire while the troop carriers came in behind it. The Cobra is the direct ancestor of every attack helicopter flying today. The CH-47 Chinook was the heavy lifter. It put artillery on mountain fire bases that no road could reach. It sling-loaded howitzers, ammunition, fuel, and entire infantry companies. The Chinook is still flying with the Army right now. That's how good the design was. The HH-3 Jolly Green Giant and HH-53 Super Jolly Green Giant flew Combat Search and Rescue CSAR. When a pilot went down over North Vietnam, these crews flew deep into enemy territory under fire to bring them home. Pararescue men were winched into the jungle on cables. A-1 Sky Raiders circled overhead, taking hits to keep the enemy's heads down. Over 3,900 people were rescued by these crews, some of the most extraordinary bravery in the history of American aviation. The OH-6 Cayuse and OH-58 Kiowa were the scout helicopters, tiny, fast, flying treetop level to find the enemy and draw their fire. They worked in teams with Cobras, one scout low to find, one gunship high to kill. The scout crews had a fatality rate that was brutal. They did it anyway. Transport and cargo aircraft. The C-13 Hercules kept the whole war running. Troops, cargo, ammunition, airdropped supplies to the besieged Marines at Khe Sanh when the airstrip was too hot to land on. It also delivered the BLU-82 Daisy Cutter, a 15,000-pound bomb that cleared helicopter landing zones from the air. The C-130 is still flying today. The C-7 Caribou could land on dirt strips just a few hundred feet long, reaching the remote Special Forces camps that nothing else could touch. The C-123 Provider flew conventional cargo but also flew Operation Ranch Hand, the controversial spraying of Agent Orange defoliant across South Vietnamese jungle, one of the most painful legacies of the entire war. Reconnaissance and surveillance. The RF-4 Sea Phantom flew photo reconnaissance over North Vietnam fast and low, unarmed, relying purely on speed to survive, bringing back the photos that planners needed while having nothing to shoot back with. The SR-71 Blackbird flew at Mach 3+ above 80,000 feet. North Vietnam fired over 800 surface-to-air missiles at SR-71s during the war. Not one came close. It simply flew faster than anything they had. The Ryan Firebee drone, and most people don't know, this America flew over 3,400 drone reconnaissance missions in Vietnam. Unmanned jets launched from motherships, flying over North Vietnam, collecting intelligence. Vietnam wasn't just the helicopter war. It was also the first major drone war in history. Vietnam was the most aviation-intensive conflict in history. American crews flew over 3.4 million combat sorties. They lost more than 10,000 aircraft and helicopters. Every single one of those machines had a crew pilots, door gunners, crew chiefs, pararescue men who flew into danger knowing the odds. The lessons of this war: gun-equipped fighters, helicopter assault tactics, precision-guided weapons, electronic warfare, drone reconnaissance still shape how America fights from the air today.